Welcome everybody to Just the Stats with Murdock Manwaring Company. It is our monthly market update, a real estate market here in the Southeast Idaho area. Thanks for joining us. You get to kind of listen in on what Murdock Manwaring Company talks about with our team. We're all about keeping up on the stats and making sure that we are on the cusp of the market. By the way, if you enjoy these stats, you can get them in your email every single month by going to mmcidaho.com and click at the top to get the newsletter. And we'll send these off to you with some home tips and some fun local businesses every single month. All right, let's give an idea of what we're going to go over today. We've got 4 sections. We're going to hit the overview of the stats, just how we're doing this year for the month of February versus last February, and then year to date this year versus last year. Next, we're going to do just a snapshot of the month, some of the high level stats just for the month of February. Then we're going to talk about what the current inventory in Bonneville, Bingham, and Jefferson counties are doing. And then lastly, we're just going to cover what specifically in Idaho Falls is happening and how does that look versus our surrounding counties. So Jeremy, your airplane, give us the stats.
Let's get right in, my airplane. All right, so let's see for the month of February. Last year we had 176 homes sell. This year, 132. A 25% decrease in the actual number of homes that were transacted. And so that is a lagging indicator of activity before, right? So we'll talk about current levels of inventory and what we can expect, but that's a good number to watch because how many are actually selling?
So Jeremy, I might point out as we go through, if we remember last February, this is over February, we were at the peak of the market. Rates had not changed last year in February. So I'm almost feeling like that was peak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was good.
That's a good point. Rates now are higher and people are feeling some crunch, and people with good rates are having a harder time justifying a move. And I think that plays a lot into it. This is a very interesting slide because in the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen half of the homes sell. Well, maybe not sold, but half of our inventory is over 500,000. Right now, the homes that sold show that more than 80% happen below 500,000. So 109 transactions happened below 500, 21 happened up to $1 million, and then just a few over that. So we are seeing some compression in affordability, especially because people can't quite afford and justify that over 500,000. We're seeing the bulk of activity move below that. Average price per foot. Last year we saw $175 a foot. This year we're seeing an average about 164. So depending on how you look at it, most of the activity was below 500,000. So that might have some play in it, but over 500,000 is decreasing. So $11 a square foot decrease. So, rule of thumb, you can't compare that to every single thing. But as you look at if your house is listed or you're thinking about listing it, if you use that number, you should be fairly close. Seeing a bit of a decrease. The year to date, this is an interesting one. Because last year to date we were at 379, and like Jess said, that was the peak of low rates, people moving, ready to get into the next place with a new low rate. This year we've seen a major decrease in that activity of 31%, and we could see even more based on the inventories that are coming. But we are seeing a decrease in the number of homes selling on a monthly basis and year to date. The average sell price from last year, we were at 419. This year, our average is 400,000, almost even. So we are seeing that the lower part of the market really staying active and the higher pulling those down. So that's almost a 5% decrease in the average sell price.
And Jeremy, I know you've mentioned this before. That doesn't mean your house has gone down 5%. But that isn't, this is overall, like you said, less houses in the higher end are selling. That will bring that average sell price down. So we can't really use that as if someone goes, oh my word, my house has gone down 5%. Not necessarily, just the average of what is selling.
Yeah, great point. So the year to date, we're seeing that last year we were at 416 and now we're at 387. So that's even a bigger discrepancy there, that don't take that as a sign that you're down 7% in your house. Just know that the average is lowering because the higher end stuff is slowing down first. My original list to sell last year, in the month of February, you could list your house for 100,000, expect to get about 100,000. Right now, I think we're still seeing sellers push the market and attempt to push the market by listing a little bit higher. And by the time they sell, we're seeing about a 7% decrease from the original list price. Just because things are moving slower, we're having more longer inventory days on market is increasing. And so buyers are pushing back saying, hey, we're not quite ready to pay those asking prices. And so we may be still active, but we're not going to pay full price of what sellers are putting out there. Year to date, we're seeing the same thing. There's a bit less, even 5.7% is what we're averaging out so far this year, that as sellers are still trying to hit that higher price point, buyers are pushing back. And the people that are really selling are getting, close to that 92.6% of original ask price.
Jeremy, I might mention the MMC, we're running about 98.6% of original list to sell, only because we really try in our consultations to have a really good conversation about the market and help our sellers understand so they don't overprice and have to come down so far. So.
And that's where I was going to mention, is that it doesn't mean that everybody is suffering that price reduction and getting, less than 93% of the original ask. It just means that you've got to understand the market, and you got to understand what buyers are willing to pay right now. And so that plays into that quite a bit. So average days on the market, one of our leading indicators of what the market will do in the next 60, 90, 120 days. Last year, we were seeing only 27 days on the market. We have more than doubled that, and we're sitting about 65 days on the market right now for the month of February, or 100% increase. And the year to date, about the same. So 63%, a little bit higher, 125%. It'll be interesting because we're seeing a strange compression of our inventory is not creeping up, where usually we would have inventory increasing as well, but we haven't seen that a lot. We'll get into some details of that later, but they still are taking longer to sell on the market. And so those price reductions are a thing right now. Here's a kind of an overlook of the previous years. 2022, we're at 33. If we go down to 2017 at 54, and if this year, we're at 63, that's quite an increase and an indicator that's telling us what may be coming. So go ahead, Jess, and talk a little bit about what is overpriced and what is keeping things from selling today.
Sure. Yeah, what is the truth? What's the truth, Jess?
What is the truth? What is the truth? So I like to have this slide in because this is a lot about the conversation that we have when we go into list a home. We just talk about, where do you want to start your price? Because the price that we list a home at is not what you're necessarily going to sell it. It is your offer price. This is the price we're offering to buyers to say, hey, come and take a look at us. So you got to take a look at how you're going to decide where that price is. We're putting bait in the water, and we're deciding whether we can attract those fishes. So as we make those decisions, this is kind of the thought process you want to have. So in Idaho Falls, our average home runs from 2,400 to 33,000 square feet. We have a 2 or a 3 car garage, anywhere from a 1/4 of an acre to a 1/2 an acre, and it's got to have at least 2 bathrooms. That's an average or typical home in Idaho Falls. Well, right now in the month of February, those homes were selling at about $136 per square foot. That's 12 homes sold in February in that criteria. Now, what's interesting is in 2022, that same home sold for $174 per square foot. That was the home that was sold the most in that time. So you can see a big difference on that typical home in Idaho Falls and what that change price per square foot is. Now, if we take a look at the pending sales, we know sold homes, that is we know what that truth is. That's the reality. We know what the price was. We know how many price reductions they had. We know what it took to get their offer and how long it took to sell. Well, pendings, we don't know as much, but they're more current. So a pending means right now they haven't closed, but they've gotten an offer. So when we find out what they finally closed for, we'll get the real truth, but this is at least what they got, what it took to get an offer. Those pendings of those same kind of homes are sitting at $146 per square foot. And there are 28 of them pending as of yesterday. So we'll see if they move a little bit closer down to the 136. Now, the active homes sitting on the market in this criteria, they're sitting at $160 per square foot. So if you are sitting on the market at 160 and the indicator is saying to get an offer, you need to be at 146 per square foot, and to sell, you need to be at 136, you can see that is when you're going to come into finding out you might be about $68,000 overpriced. And that's a hard pill to swallow when you're thinking you want more money. But that's how we look at pricing it right when we're talking about, are we overpriced in the market? Chad, you want to give us a little snapshot of what went on in the month?
Yeah, for sure. Let's go ahead and do some snapshots here. So again, we're looking at Bonneville, Bingham, and Jefferson counties. We had 167 homes that came on the market, and that was down 30% over last month. In fact, we saw that February is one of the lowest months on record of new homes coming on the market that we've seen in a long, long time. So of those, the average list price is about $453. And list price to sold, original list price to sold was about 98.19%. So what we're seeing is that when you're pricing your home right, they're going quicker and you're getting a better price. Okay, so it does not help you to overprice your home. It takes longer and you are going to probably net less.
And Chad, I might mention that 98.8, they listed in the month and sold. So I think you hit it on the head. Those homes that sold, they got it sold and done in 30 days. Yeah. And that's what they got 98.
Yeah, we're seeing all these average sell or average days on market going higher and higher and higher, but the ones that are selling, they're actually selling pretty quick. So if you're on the market over 30, 50, 60 plus days, you might want to have a conversation about price. So 37 fell apart after pending in February. That's about 18%. We're still not liking that number, but that's a number we've kind of been between 18 and 22 for a long time. So
Chad, on the listing side, we're seeing a lot of people making offers before their homes on the market are sold, and then they're struggling because they're expecting a certain price and maybe they have their high expectations. And if their house can't sell for that much or it's not, that is making deals fall apart.
Yeah, they aren't they don't have good information yet to make those good decisions. So as we look in February again, 35 homes withdrew. They tried for about 129 days before they decided to go off the market. Their average price per square foot was $173, and they basically went down just over 5%. So they dropped, but in reality, more than likely, I mean, there are some personal reasons why some people withdraw, but usually it's just like we're not willing to go down that far. So basically, they overpriced their listing. They went down 5% and basically said, nah, we're not willing. Or they weren't, they learned they aren't that motivated to sell yet. Looking at expired, it's kind of the same story. There's 27 homes that went on the market and have actually expired. They had an average days on market 142. Average price per square foot was higher at 200, basically almost $201 a foot, and they were at 94.8%. So similar story where they kind of listed, they went down, they didn't go down as far as they needed to, more than likely, and they gave up. So let's look at current inventories. A few slides on that. So as we look at the current market, there are 391 homes. Last month, there were 428. So we actually saw a decrease. We didn't see those new listings come in February. And so we now have less homes in February, or less homes in March than we did before, down about 8.7%. Average days on market, 81 days. Combined days on market, 107 days. And they're basically sitting there at about 97.7% of list price. So we're seeing the price drops. Average square foot is 188. And let's not forget that homes average are selling for about 164. So again, we're seeing a lot of people who are not really pricing it based on the market. They're pricing it on what they want out of their house. And the market doesn't care what I want out of my house. They don't care what you want out of your house. They only care how it compares to other homes.
And Chad, we might mention a lot of the stuff that's sitting, this current inventory, is that higher end. We'll see that in the next slide. So that brings that up just a little bit. And when those higher ends, they're taking longer to sell.
Yep, that's right. And our absorption rate's about 3 months. And what that means in us and our industry is that it's still a strong seller's market. It's not a magic market, but if you price it right, it's still a strong seller's market. All right, so let's look at our inventory. So this one's a little bit different than the one Jeremy showed, because Jeremy showed the ones of homes that had sold. This is active. And so we're seeing that under 500,000, there's 204 homes. Over 500,000, we're basically seeing 185 homes. And what's interesting here is that of these 185 homes, they only account above 500,000. It only accounts for about 70% of all home sales as of last month. And so there's quite a bit of homes. You can see that their days on market are higher, and it's crazy. We have 22 homes over $1 million, but they're not having great luck on selling those homes. And that's kind of your discount market right now, is over 500, especially over $1 million. There should be some room in there to get a deal. So new listings over time. So this is a new slide that we kind of put together to kind of give you an idea of how many listings are coming on board month over month, year over year. And we'll go back even further. But basically what we're seeing so far, what we know so far in 2023 is we're seeing less listings than what came on the market last year for January over February. We did see a lot of listings come on board when the rates went up, but we'll see if that continues this year. But anyway, this will be interesting to see how it plays out, because year over year is very helpful for us, especially if we can space it out over time and kind of see how that compares with other months and other years. Any
What's
other
interesting
comments
is,
on this slide?
yeah, this is normally where we start to see a momentum. Once February hits and people see an end of the snow, we start usually seeing more homes coming on the market. And to see that a big drop, and to get us in December, which is people are generally not putting their homes because they don't want to list during Christmas. To see February, it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next month if we can recover and get some more homes on the market. But I think Jeremy hit it on the head that one time, or when he said that, if you have a great rate, man, it's hard to sell and go to buy something at a higher rate. And we'll see how that works this next year.
Yeah, people are not going to want to give that up. So. And it doesn't seem like banks are wanting to exercise that assumption option very often in what we're seeing as well. So, all right, as far as current pending listings, there's 272. Average price of that is 441,000. Original price to current, they've dropped down just about a little over 3% to 96.7. Average price per square foot 170. Again, we're seeing that if you're priced higher, it's not going. It's the ones that are more competitive that are going to sell. And average days on market for that is 67. So let's dig into Idaho Falls, Jess.
Yeah, let's take a look. So now we've been looking at Bingham, Jefferson, and Bonneville counties for all those stats. Let's take a look at what we've got going on currently in Idaho Falls. Now this takes care of just the 5 Idaho Falls high schools. So it'll be a little bit out of the boundaries, but the 5 Idaho Falls high schools. So we're actually just down 3% on the homes sold. So we had 90 homes sell in the month of February. Average days on market 63. Original list of sold 93, so they came down about 6.5% to finally from what they originally started at to get their final sold price. We've got 242 homes on the market.
Can I give a little context on that 90?
Absolutely.
I looked up that number because I'm like, man, that seems pretty low. The last time we were in that range of 90 in Idaho Falls to sell was between 2008 and 2014, and that's kind of when we saw these types of numbers. That's when we were that low. So. Wow. Hasn't been since 2014.
Yeah, we are back filling some crunch of inventory, and that will drive prices up. So it'll be interesting to see. When everybody's waiting for rates to come down, remember, as rates go down, prices go up. So you're balancing that out. We've got 242 homes on the market. They're actually sitting, the ones on the market are on an average of 79 days, and they're sitting at a current original to current price of 97. So they might have to come down a little bit before we start to see those sell. And we are at a 2.7 months of inventory. So we're even tighter inventory wise than we are in the 3 counties. So Idaho Falls still a great seller's market. So that's the stat. Thanks for joining us, everybody, for every month. Again, we do this every single month. So making sure you are subscribing and following us, and you can keep up on all the stats here in Southeast Idaho. Thanks for joining us.
See
And
ya.
if we can help you sell or
Thanks a lot.
buy, give us a call.